Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Super Tees video. I just completed my 0 to 2400 challenge on the Beast Mastery Hunter. I know, very impressive, but with these couple of adjustments, I was able to skyrocket 300 rating in less than a day immediately as a result, and I wanted to share some of those strategies with you in today's video. So we're going to be playing Beast Mastery Hunter in Solo Shuffle Arena. At the start of the game, you want to be spamming your kill shot procs whenever you get them. That is your main priority. The next thing that I really like to do is to maintain my barbed shot dot on multiple targets. Typically, it's going to be both DPS while you're putting crowd control onto the healer. You can see I've trapped the healer's trinket, and I have barbed shot and kill shot dots ticking down both the Shadow Priest and the Windwalker's health at the same time. Now, when enemies pop their offensives, you want to be really responsive. I trade my Survival of the Fittest and Roar of Sacrifice, and I start to not really trust that my healer's saving me when I start to dip below 30%, and that's when I go for the aspect of the turtle. You can also combine Feign Death on top of that. You can see that you'll take a lot of damage. You want to just stay ahead of the damage so that you can stay aggressive and continue to ramp forward and stay near the enemy healer in order to kind of get crowd control whenever you need it. Now the monks popped as images, so I'm a bit worried about the monk here. You got to be worried about monk dodge effect. This kind of icon next to their health bar, this stacks up and makes it more likely that they'll dodge an attack. We use binding shot to pin the healer when they try and retreat away to get a freezing trap. Kill Siphoned, really high priority, really important to do. You also want to be making sure that you're using Dire Beast pretty much as frequently as possible. We're able to just mow them down to about almost 700,000 DPS, and I'm wearing full marksmanship gear. I'm wearing full mastery. You absolutely want to be wearing full haste. I'm going to be at a bit of a detriment because I geared up for marksman. I was really excited to play it, and then it ended up just really falling flat and not being that fun with the tuning adjustments that they made. But Beast Mastery Hunter ended up being really powerful and really fun, as I'm sure a lot of you already know with how many players are switching over to it. So main focus is barbed shot dot on as many enemy targets as you can. Kill commands into the main kill target. Just send your cooldowns whenever you have them. You want Dire Beast just on cooldown immediately, so you're working towards your Fenrir. So you just want to shove basically everything that you have as soon as possible, and don't be afraid to just throw your defensives to stay aggressive, because sometimes you can be fragile. Kill shot, barb shots are being applied. We've spammed a kill command. Dire Beast is on cooldown. I see stuns over onto the healer. I could have tried to push him for a trap, but even with the stun, we get Dispersion and Emerald Communion. Barb shots up on the warrior. That's rotting the warrior. The healer about to focus. I can spread kill shots. We use binding shot defensively. Try and land a freezing trap out of Sleepwalk. Really important to pay attention to crowd control from your teammates, because you can always land a freezing trap kind of for free, even if you don't have a stun, if you're paying attention to that. We silence out of that freezing trap, just chaining crowd control together to limit the amount of time that the healer can get healing going under the Shadow Priest, and keep hammering forward while killing Siphons. Really good, just use kill command. I went for a stun root trap. I wanted to deny some of the Preservation Evoker's instant healing, like Verdant Embrace. Roots can actually be really effective against Preservation Evoker in that sense, but now we're getting attacked quite heavily. Our healer is in crowd control, so we're going to pop Exhilaration. That gives us a big boost and a little temporary shield wall through our Dark Ranger talents, and we're going to continue to maintain our Barb Shot stacks at 3. You can see them on my personal resource display here. You want this to be at a 3 for basically 100% of the match, and typically I'll rotate between Barb Shot on the main focus target, Barb Shot on the off target, and you can see the type of pressure that it's creating. Basically, the entire enemy team is slowly rotting down. Drop down a binding shot. I end up missing it, so I'm going to kite the warrior back through it. I'm trying to get the warrior in CC right now because I'm taking so much damage. Could have honestly trapped the warrior here as well, considering that the evoker has shroud up. This purple icon means I can't trap them. So whenever I see a shroud up like that, I typically throw my traps onto the DPS, and we kind of just overpower the target. We just drop the Shadow Priest through healing in that position. That's why I'm saying just focus on maxing out your damage, maxing out your ability to know when you need to trade defensive cooldowns. Make sure that Dire Beast is on cooldown. Make sure Barb Shot is maintained at 3, that you're sending Bestial Wrath pretty much on cooldown. And it's just basically a game of actions per minute. So while Beast Mastery Hunter is, I would say very easy right now in order to succeed on, it can be very spammy. Like, it's a very, there's a lot of things that you're doing basically the entire game. You're never getting like a global where you're kind of chilling, like on something like a Marksman Hunter where you're channeling an aim shot or something. You're very spammy. You're just running and getting a lot done immediately. So we're in camouflage. We're sneaking across the map. We're going to want kill shot as soon as possible. We want that to hit both DPS ideally. Unfortunately, it doesn't here. We drop a double binding, push towards the evoker. He's got precog, so I can't really do anything in this position. Here I'm going to use Roar of Sacrifice and Freedom on my priest, so hopefully they can kite away. And then I'm just sending everything. Bistro Wrath, Call of the Wild, Dire Beast, everything is on cooldown. Mash kill shots when you get them. Now I've got to focus on maintaining barb shot stacks at 3 while cutting away and not taking damage. We land a stun, trap, scatter into silence. I tried to root him as well. Again, rooting evokers at the end is really good. We get a sleepwalk, and now we can get a lot of cleave damage going. Look at this rot. We got both the warrior and the monk into a triple stun. That forces Emerald Communion. We're really far ahead in this position. Just continue sending Dire Beast, kill shot procs whenever they light up. Also, maintain your Hunter's Mark on your primary kill target. This can be a really good way of staying ahead of, or making sure your single target pressure is higher. I see the evoker over here try to go for a trap. Again, it's not typically good to go for a trap without a stun. I kind of got greedy wanting to go before he was off binding shot DR. We're going to use scatter shot to compensate, which can be a good way if you end up missing a trap, is just use scatter, but typically you might want to scatter DPS. The only reason you wouldn't do it here is because the Shadow Priest wants to dot multiple targets. Void shift from the Shadow Priest, so I'm just going to pop Exhilaration right away to heal through that swapped health, but likely with the sleepwalks that are coming through, we're in a really, kind of looking like an unrecoverable position. We use Roar Sacrifice again over onto the Shadow Priest. I'm going to start trapping DPS. This way it removes dots and it's undispellable and it doesn't break to damage. So that's why I really like playing Diamond Dice. I play it pretty much in every single situation because it's flexible between trapping healers and trapping DPS in order to survive. And look, we were about to be dead. Throw a little defensive trap, give our team some time to breathe, and we're able to turn it around. So it's just all about paying attention to momentum when it comes to using your trap on DPS. Feels like you're kind of falling behind really early on. You may want to consider a defensive trap to peel and buy time, because oftentimes your healer really only needs like a couple of seconds to actually recover the target, and that trap can buy them the time to do it. But if you're kind of running the other team over, it feels like you're really far ahead on cooldowns, going for traps on healer is obviously going to be more ideal in that situation. So got another situation with the Shadow Priest. We're going to just be running the Shadow Priest down and cleaving the Windwalker monk at the same time, and kind of kiting the Windwalker with concussive shot, roots, and scatters. So we're moving forward to the center of the tomb. We're getting ready to get that kill shot. Probably not going to be able to get multi-target kill shot. Actually, they're just stacked up. I love when kill shot gets to hit 3 targets, barb shot onto both players, kill shot proc again. And then as soon as I'm out of this stun, I'm going to pop every defensive cooldown that I've got pretty much. I'm going to use wall, I'm going to use sack, feign death, reduce all this burst, and then just send my cooldowns. Bistro Wrath, Call of the Wild, Dire Beast, just get everything out on the battlefield. And I want to be making myself as tanky as possible with my cooldowns. Next cooldown is probably going to be Exhilaration. I like leading with a charge of Survival to Fittest because that way it gets it rotating on cooldown. But then if you use both, it kind of gets a bit rough. So I'll use Exhilaration typically as my second cooldown. You can see right here. And I'm just continuing to kite the Windwalker to the best of my ability, but I may have to use all my cooldowns because they're kind of just running us over. And this is where, again, the assessment to use a defensive trap. If I'd trapped the monk here with no trinket, I kind of just didn't expect to die through my double charge wall. But if it feels like momentum is really going against you, it can just be better to just trap DPS, stall the game, because you'll end up winning just on pressure. This class is just doing so much damage at the moment that you could honestly do like my old tech in Dragonflight where you were just trapping DPS all the time. I just don't think it's necessary all the time. You just gotta really pay attention to the moment. So in that moment, I thought like I was gonna be fine. Obviously wasn't. We can see one of the evokers is down 3 points right now. So see if we can get like a win with the evoker that's down bad basically, because that situation I feel like I should typically use a cooldown. Reposition off into the corner. You never want to stack on a ranged DPS. If you got double ranged, you should never stack. You want to always play far away from them. We trade sack and freedom right away. Try and reduce that opening pressure so our priest doesn't have to use dispersion and they can kite to wherever they need to. I should be kicking this sleepwalk. He's kind of just faking over and over, and then I get disarmed. But the sleepwalks coming from the evoker should be like my highest priority to interrupt. And okay, now I actually did interrupt it. Good job past me paying attention to that so that I could look good on the VOD. Then we're going to stun into freezing trap. Feels like we're in a decent spot defensively. That gets the healer's trinket. We're continuing to cleave kill shots. Dire Beast is coming off cooldown. We need to send that as soon as possible as well, because we get a haste buff whenever it's out. And the more kill commands you press, the more chances you're going to be summoning in Fenrir, which does way more damage than the other regular Dire Beasts. Maintaining our barb shot stacks at 3, sending our Bistro Wrath on cooldown, binding shot to peel in this position, kill shot procs as well. We get a double fear on a DPS. I can concussive shot the healer to snare him to try and push over for a sneaky trap, but I'm not risking to blink. I scatter him. And again, in this position, had a freezing trap, Monk Warrior don't have trinket. So if you're really worried about a target dying, like you're having a rough lobby and it feels like somebody's just dying over and over and over, switch your targeting so your freezing trap is going onto a DPS. Because I think if I had trapped a DPS there, Shadow Priest probably wouldn't have died, although maybe it would have been close. Or I could have even just scattered. But it felt like we should be fine. So I should have made that assessment after dying that last lobby. This is why like things that you can do and adjust, and this is why it's like watching your VOD makes you so much better at the game. Like I watched one VOD. I played Beastmaster over 2 days and got 2400. First day, I was hard stuck at like 21 to 2200. I watched a VOD of my gameplay. immediately cleaned up what I noticed was going wrong and skyrocketed to 2400 the next time that I queued. So even going back in this, when you got a healer that feels a little weaker, trapping DPS, slow down the game for that healer and try and make it easier for them to be able to get through it, because you can still win with just pressure. We're popping forward, we get stunned, we immediately just trinket and pop a wall. A lot of DPS will just send all their cooldowns immediately, so you'll almost never really feel too bad about just trading your defensive cooldowns right away. You're gonna drop down root traps and binding shots and try and get away from the warrior. And this is where I think I switched gears and started putting traps down for DPS. So I'd lost 2 rounds. I should have noticed it by the first loss, having used 2 walls and dying through both, that I need to switch gears here. I got to focus more crowd control onto DPS. So now we're getting roots, we're getting traps. We're still sending out max damage that we can to the Shadow Priest while being pressured. We're just kiting and maneuvering a lot more defensively away from the warrior in order to try and shore up some of the gap that's been happening throughout this lobby. We get a root, disengage away, kill the Siphon, get rescued away from the warrior. So we're just continue to keep our distance. I should honestly be using concussive shot on the warrior here in this position a bit more. Doing a good job maintaining Hunter's Mark though. Kill shot proc here into a Dire Beast is going to be a nice little combo that forces Emerald Communion. Warrior's trapped away. We've got a binding shot now as well. So you can see I'm focusing way more on just removing the warrior in order to win on this final lobby with the healer that looked like they were going to 0-6. So there's a double fear. I've Roar of Sacrifice. This is going to prevent the warrior from critically striking me, which is super important against warriors. They can get some big crits, but I think I traded Turtle anyways. I'm not playing any games, I guess, with this healer, this last VOD with the last 2 losses. I turtled at a pretty healthy margin. Could have maybe been greedy here. We get some cleave damage on the healer. Never bad to do that, to just toss out some cleave whenever you can. We get a sleepwalk. Should not have broke the sleepwalk though. That was definitely a mistake. But we trapped the warrior. Could focus these kicks on the Shadow Priest. I said sleepwalk should be my highest priority, but I think Shadow Priest, anything the Shadow Priest casts pretty much is good to kick, or sleepwalk in this type of matchup. There's a Siphon down. Got to kill that with the pets. Disengage away. Pop the wall. We get rescued to the other side, but the warrior's rooted. It's not going to matter too much. We're getting kill shot procs. Here, the Evoker has given us another charge of aspect of the cheetah. Whenever you're playing with an Evoker, they can reset your aspect of the cheetah. So just pay attention to that. It'll start glowing. We binding shot, trap the warrior around the corner. And you can see my goal this game now is to just make this game pure hell for the warrior while just doing maximum damage to the Shadow Priest. And hey, I could just toss a scatter on the healer. You know, you got a lot of pressure. The Shadow Priest is low health. I don't need a freezing trap. I'd be able to just win even a scatter, swap to the healer again because they just got kind of low, cleave them down a bit, then immediately go back down to the Shadow Priest. Evoker's really struggling to deal with it, and we're able to dunk on the Shadow Priest, finish him off, and get the Evoker a win. So this is like my initial assessment for this lobby is like max out your damage. We've gone over how basically maintain your barbed shots, get your Dire Beast on cooldowns, ship your cooldowns whenever you have them, focus on interrupts on high important spells like enemy crowd controls, or Shadow Priest, if you interrupt them on Shadow, they can't use their defensive, so that's another like high priority target to be using your interrupt on. And if you notice that one of your healers is feeling a bit shaky, use freezing trap on DPS and you can slow down the game. And that was the difference maker in being able to come back from this, which otherwise was looking like a 6-0 for the other Evoker, which would have only been a 3-3 for me. And it turned the lobby around here in the final round. And if I'd noticed that trend a little sooner, maybe I could have gotten a win in the round before this, or maybe even the round before that. Maybe it could have been a 6-0 for myself. So that's why it's really good to watch these types of videos and to look back on your own VODs and your own gameplay to see what you could change, what you could advance forward with, because it's going to make you 10 times the player. So I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. Hope that it's made you a better player. And thank you very much for watching. If you like this type of content, educational, entertaining, news related content, then make sure to smash the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated, and have a good one.